You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the J.D. Rucker Show. I'm your host, J.D. Rucker, and I probably shouldn't have to say that, especially if you've been watching my show for a while. But because we are now part of Patriot TV, I thought that it would behoove all of us, if I were to do a quick introduction. I am J.D. Rucker. And for those who don't know me, I am the editor over at the Liberty Daily. That's where I get most of my notoriety, being the editor of an aggregator, the conservative alternative to the Drudge Report. You'll go there. If you've ever been a Drudge, you'll go to the Liberty Daily and you'll say, hey, this looks like Drudge. Now, I don't own the site, to be clear. I am not the owner. Matthew Burke is the owner. He ran it solo by himself for a long time. And then, 3-4 years ago, I don't even know how long it's been, but he tried to get some help and he couldn't find the right people. And then I came along and I'm the right people, as it turned out. So after working together for a while, he decided to retire. We hired somebody to come in and to help out, and that way I don't have to do it 24/7. He, as owner of the site, did it 24/7 pretty much for years. Like I said, he is an animal, but he's an animal for America. He's a patriot, and I do believe that I am one as well. Site gets anywhere from 11 to 13 million hits per month. It does pretty well. I mean, it's not nearly as big as Drudge during its heyday, but I would say that we are one of the top aggregators for conservative media, and as a result, we get to talk to a lot of really cool people. I get regular emails, texts from some influencers, some big time Republican and conservative people. We do try, as a result, to be very fair. Okay, people often accuse other aggregators of doing a pay for play model. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't care. We just don't do that. Okay. We actually had one publication at one point offer. They said, you put this little code at the end of the URL, because we're already sending them traffic. It's like, hey, if you put this little code at the end of the URL, we'll actually pay you X number of dollars per visitor or per 1,000 visitors or whatever. And we were sending them at the time like 15, 20,000 visitors per day. And as a result of that, what was deemed basically a bribe to throw more traffic their way, we actually put them on hold for a little bit. So we stopped sending them traffic altogether. They never asked again. And then over time, they drew back in. They got great content, so it was like, hey, yeah, we'll take you out of the penalty box, so to speak. I know that sounds pretty annoying, but it is what it is. It's all about the news. That's it. And if it's a sponsored post, we'll say this is sponsored. But we're not going to try to intermingle commentary or news with ads. Okay, we got ads on the site, and they're very clearly marked. Otherwise, it's just pure news. And sometimes it does get sent to us from people. Sometimes most of the time, the vast majority of the time, we find it ourselves, and we do publish quite a bit. Yesterday, we actually hit 201 articles that we threw up, articles and videos. I would say an average day, we do about 140, 150. Certain big news days, election night and into the next day, we ended up doing over 400 in one day. So yeah, it all depends upon the news and the news cycle itself. That's the Liberty Daily. I'm also the editor over at AmericaFirstReport.com and DiscernReport.com. They're very similar sites, you'll see, and you might wonder, why would you run sites that are two competing sites that are basically posting the exact same content? And the answer to that question harkens way back to the good old days when before Trump, before Elon Musk, before all these things, when having a conservative or alternative media site put you at risk, you could get blacklisted. And I am currently, to be clear, very, very, very blacklisted by Google. You could do a search for the exact title and you're not going to find my sites. They just don't like me, and I get it, because I don't like them either. The feeling is definitely mutual. I also obviously have this show that I've been doing since, I'd like to say, it was 2020. I've been doing podcasts since like 2008. Been part of various podcasts over the years. It wasn't until this particular show that I really started focusing on this as a career, and this is what I want to do. Now, we are always looking for sponsors. We're always looking for help, and yeah, and the easiest way to do that, by the way, if you just want to help out, is just to subscribe to my Substack at jdrucker.substack.com. Now, subscribing, it's free to subscribe, okay, and it always will be free to subscribe. We don't give anything extra, unfortunately, for those who contribute. But we do have a lot of good, awesome Americans who do contribute. They do take on a paid sponsorship, knowing that, or a paid subscription, knowing that they're not going to get anything extra. It's just to support the work that we do there. Now, next week is when it's been on hiatus for about a week or so. Next week it comes back because that's when I will be making my big announcement regarding not just Patriot TV, but other aspects of my life. I've been participating with multiple companies for a long time, and we are have been in a consolidation mode for the last month or so, trying to level things out in the life of Rucker so that I can focus on my show, focus on my sites, focus on my newsletter, and that's it. Okay. And of course, still maintain a good paying day job that pays the bills, because yes, I am stuck out here in California. Speaking of which, I'm stuck out here in California. I want to leave so badly, but based upon a familial medical need, we are stuck here. I would have left back years ago, gone to redder pastures, so to speak, except we can't. There's a very particular medical doctor and facility that we have to stay near, at least for the next few years. And once that changes, by golly, I'll be buying a homestead in Montana or something like that. But in the meantime, this is where I am. So that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, Patriot TV, AmericaFirstReport.com, TheLibertyDaily.com, and of course my Substack and DiscernReport.com. Those are the places where you can find me. I do spend quite a bit of time on X, mostly looking for news and videos. And so, but if you want to find me there, it's easy to contact me there as well. X.com/JDRucker. I have open DMs, and I receive a lot of DMs every day. So I try to get back to as many of them as possible. But if you have anything that you need to talk to me about, that's the best place to go. Second best place to go would be go to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. That will come directly to me as well via email format. So, and I do try to get to those. Usually those will be longer questions or whatever, statements, comments. People will send me links sometimes through there. We have links to stories that they think we should cover on the show, or post over at the Liberty Daily or whatever. So yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. And again, I hate talking about myself. I want to talk about the news. I want to talk about what it's going to take to make America truly, legitimately, completely great again. What it's going to take to end the cultural Marxism that has been spreading across our country even during President Trump's first term. We're finally getting a hold of it here during the second term, but it's going to rear its ugly head and continue to rear its multiple ugly heads. The heads of the cultural Marxist hydra, they're still going to be popping up throughout President Trump's term, throughout the next term, for years to come, because they being the evil ones, have a vested interest in making sure that their evils are spread as far and wide as possible, especially here in the United States of America. So that fight is going to be ongoing. But most important, definitively, for me, is to be able to express myself, my faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, no matter what. Now, I'm not a preacher. I'm not a pastor. I'm not going to sit here and try to. I'm not going to say, okay, turn your Bible to Ephesians 6:12, and let's. Well, actually, that particular verse happens to be one that I would talk about quite often, because it is relevant today. For those who don't know, powers and principalities. But point is that I'm not going to be doing Bible studies on this show. That's not my thing. I'm not good at it. I wish I was. I really do. I wish I was a properly trained pastor. The problem is that I don't agree with all the training that's at the seminary. So I guess I'm just going to be stuck reading my Bible and doing my own interpretations and chatting with people that may be like-minded to me. I'm not some way out there guy when it comes to the Bible. I just believe in the Bible, period. And I express that faith in Jesus Christ. I express my concerns about the world, And I expressed the fact that I'm not too concerned about the world other than what I'm supposed to do in it while we're here. That's it. I don't worry too much about riches. I don't worry about prosperity. I worry a lot more about my soul and the soul of my family members, people that I love, because that is what's important. All right. With all that said, I don't have forgot to get my little pouch. I was going to bring a pouch to show you guys my Heaven's Harvest thing, but I don't have it here. Go to, if you would, check it out. I don't have much time before the first video plays. So check it out, heavensharvest.com/patriot. That'll give you a 5% discount, and it'll give you all sorts of things. We got a good show today. I've got 3 or 4 stories. That third story might end up bumping out the fourth story. So we might only be doing 3 stories today, but we will see. Otherwise, yeah, let's just get started, shall we? Country singer John Rich sang a little ditty about Rhino Tom Tillis, or as he calls him, Thom Tillis, which itself is hilarious. For a brief background, Tillis had blocked Ed Martin from being able to get a vote on the Senate floor to become U.S. Attorney in D.C. As a result, President Trump pulled that nomination yesterday and replaced him with Jeanine Pirro from Fox News. Former judge, former prosecutor, excellent at both, and now we'll see how she does. But in the meantime, Tillis is getting just ravaged across social media and hopefully by his constituents because he is a full-blown rhino, an anti-Trumper, anti-American, really, if you ask me. Card-carrying member of the Uniparty Swamp, and John Rich had some musical thoughts about him.
Thom, 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 you were wrong, wrong, wrong when you went and sold North Carolina out. And Thom, 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 you're gonna be gone, gone, gone when that 26 election rolls around. Thanks for nothing, Thom. Go get him, Judge Jeanine. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes there's just no commentary necessary. That was awesome. I really love John Rich, and I also love his involvement with Old Glory Bank, which I am a very, very proud member of that bank. Is Representative Corey Mills a secret Muslim? Now, when I first saw this headline, I thought, oh, great, here we go again. Some fringe outfit out there trying to spread false rumors. I've been a big supporter of Corey Mills for a very long time. I think that he is a rock-solid guy, or at least I have. Now, I have reasons to question that, at least question his history. Not necessarily his integrity today, his actions today. These seem to be all honorable. But when it comes to his history and the potential for something very deep and dark, we got to look into it, even if the chances are slim. But then when I did look into it and found out that this was an investigative report by The Blaze, it's like, okay, well, maybe there's something here. The article itself comes from HeadlineUSA.com, Jose Nino over there. Mills's marriage, officiated by controversial Islamic cleric, sparks questions about faith and loyalty. Now, there seems to be upfront, there seems to be some semi-reasonable explanations for this by Corey Mills, but there's also holes in the explanations. So let's dive into it. Representative Corey Mills from Florida, he's a Republican, is facing scrutiny regarding his marriage to a Muslim woman, allegations of domestic assault, and potential ethics violations related to his defense contracting companies. Right off the bat, we're looking at this as being something that is either a really bad rumor or more than a rumor. One of the most recent controversies surrounding Mills emerged on Wednesday when The Blaze released an investigative report revealing that Mills was married by a radical Islamic cleric named Muhammad al-Hanouti. This has raised questions about Mills's religious affiliation, as he has publicly presented himself as a Christian throughout his political career. According to the marriage certificate verified by The Blaze, Mills married Rana al-Sadi in 2014 at the Dar al-Hijra Islamic Center in Falls Church, Virginia. The mosque has been described in some sources as reputed to be the most extremist mosque in America. Ceremony's officiant, Mohammed al-Hanoudi, was reportedly an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and allegedly involved in fundraising efforts for the Palestinian militant group Hamas. This gets crazy. Anthony Sabatini said this is insane and called for him to resign. I'm not there yet, but maybe I'll get there by the end of this article. When confronted with these facts, Mills vehemently denied converting to Islam, explaining that the arrangement was made out of necessity. He said, "I don't know the damn guy. I didn't have a relationship with the guy, so I can't tell you anything other than the fact that he was sick." He claimed, this is Mills claimed to the Blaze, he said, he claimed that the urgent marriage was necessary because his wife needed to visit a dying relative in Iraq, and without the certificate, she would have been arrested due to complications with her previous marriage. Okay, but that still sounds pretty odd. Mills explained that al-Hanoudi was, quote, the only Iraqi imam that her mom could get in contact with who would do this for us. But here's the rub. Robert Spencer, the founder of Jihad Watch, contested Mills' claim, stating it was unlikely that an imam like al-Hanoudi would have performed the marriage without Mills converting to Islam. He said Sharia stipulates that a Muslim woman may not marry a Christian or any other non-Muslim man. Thus, it is virtually certain that al-Hanoudi, as a knowledgeable and believing imam, required Mills to convert to Islam before he married Rana al-Sadi. Spencer speculated that perhaps Mills recited the Shahada, the Islamic Declaration of Faith, in Arabic without fully understanding its significance. Okay, shouldn't have done it. Okay, if that's the case, you might say, well, but he's trying to help his wife, and we'll get into that. In February 2025, Mills became the subject of an assault investigation following an incident involving Sarah Raviani, the co-founder of Iranians for Trump. On February 20th, 2025, Metropolitan Police in Washington, D.C. responded to a call at a penthouse apartment in the Wharf area of Southwest D.C. Police. Reports obtained by various news outlets indicated that Raviani alleged Mills had grabbed her, shoved her, and pushed her out of the door. Officers observed bruises on her arm, which appeared fresh. According to one police report, Mills allegedly admitted to officers that the situation escalated from verbal to physical and was severe enough to create bruising. Subsequently, both Mills and Raviani issued statements denying any physical altercation took place. This week, this is according to a spokesman for Mills, this week law enforcement was asked to resolve a private matter at Congressman Mills' residence. Congressman Mills vehemently denies any wrongdoing whatsoever and is confident any investigation will clear this matter quickly. Raviani released a statement claiming that the bruises were from medical conditions and activities from a recent overseas trip. So then why did she call the police, and why did the police say that they were fresh? It sure feels like a big, huge cover-up. I mean, a huge cover-up. Right there. I'm not forget the marriage by the imam. That alone, this feels like cover-up. She calls the police, says that she was manhandled. He acknowledges it. But then later on, they're like, oh, no, there's nothing happening here. I don't buy it. Metropolitan Police Department sent an arrest warrant to the U.S. Attorney's Office, but it was never signed. The department also launched an internal investigation into its own handling of the incident. This situation revealed that Mills, who was married to al-Sadi, has been in a relationship with Raviani. Reports from Business Insider indicated that Mills and al-Sadi have been in divorce proceedings for approximately 2 years. Mills' personal problems have not stopped there. Former Florida State Representative Anthony Sabatini, who we mentioned earlier, who ran against Mills in the Republican primary for Florida's 7th District in 2022, has accused Mills of exaggerating his military records, particularly his Bronze Star Award for actions during Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. Skip past that. The award's citation stated Mills had saved soldiers, Joe Haidt and Alan Babin, under enemy fire, but Haidt told reporters Mills didn't save my life, and I don't recall him being there. Wow. Henry Barb, a medic involved in Babin's evacuation, similarly stated that he had no recollection of Mills being in his unit. From what I understand, and this is a quote from Barb, from what I understand about Mills is he might have been in the unit. I don't remember him being involved in the medevac. To be fair, I was worried about the patients. I don't remember him, and from what I understand, other people don't remember him. Nobody remembers him being there, but he got a Bronze Star for it. Mills defended the award's legitimacy, noting that recommendations for military honors are initiated by commanding officers, not soldiers themselves. Adding to these Personal controversies. Mills is also under investigation by the House Ethics Committee regarding his business interests. In March of this year, the Office of Congressional Ethics, now the Office of Congressional Conduct, found substantial reason to believe that the defense contracting companies owned by Mills and contracts with the federal government while he was serving in Congress, this could potentially violate House rules, standards of conduct, and federal law. The companies in question, Paysum Defense LLC, Paysum Solutions International LLC, and ALS Inc., primarily manufacture less than lethal ammunitions for federal law enforcement agencies and the U.S. Department of Justice. Despite all the controversies, Mills appears poised to recapture his seat in the coming midterms. According to a recent report from Florida Politics, he raised $284,000 in the first quarter of this year, while his Democrat opponent raised less than $1,800. So the question is this. Number one, or the questions are these. Number one, is the body of evidence, the body of accusations and scandals, is that enough for us as conservatives to demand, as Sabatini did, demand that he step down? Are they enough to prompt a very well-funded primary effort against him? We don't want to lose the seat, but then again, is Mills a blight on the Republican Party? To be clear, for transparency, I've supported his actions. He was very, very vocal and aggressive during some of the hardest times for Americans, including during the massive hurricane season that Joe Biden ignored. Corey Mills was there trying to help out. He's helped out in a lot of different ways. But when you look at the body of evidence, does it seem like this is a guy that we kind of want out of our way? I'm not accusing him of any of these things, but when there's this many accusations, maybe converted to Islam, and which, look, if somebody wants to convert to Islam, fine. Just be honest about it. Did he get into a physical altercation with an Iranian for Trump president or member or whatever, who may or may not have been having an affair with, from his wife that he's divorcing, who's also not Iranian, who's Iraqi apparently? I mean, is there a cover-up for that? And if there is a cover-up, that's the part that keeps ringing in the back of my head. If there is a cover-up, why is there a cover-up? In other words, are there anti-American interests that are driving and potentially protecting Corey Mills? Again, please, to be clear, I'm not making any accusations. I'm just making fair speculations about the possibilities. If any one of these things came up and that was the story, all right, whatever. It's not a big enough deal because again, his body of work in Congress has been pretty good. So when we see a scandal pop up, it's like, give him the benefit of the doubt. When 3-4 scandals pop up, now we got to start asking serious questions. And to me, I'm not ready to call for his resignation, but I certainly would look very closely at supporting someone who had a chance, who would primary him and just get him out of the way. The biggest challenge with survival food is that it just isn't very good. It doesn't taste very good. It's not very nutritious. The sourcing is questionable. And for a long time, I was really against purchasing a whole bunch of survival food. But a company that I found a few years ago, their food was awesome. It was one of the few that I could actually eat, that my family could eat pretty much normally, just like eating regular food. And it was nutritious, grown from heirloom seeds and all that good stuff. I was super impressed with my good friends at Heaven's Harvest. I have since reconnected with them. We still have their buckets of food in my pantry, but I thought, let's see what they're doing. And they said, hey, let's partner together. So we did. So you can go to jdrucker.com/food, jdrucker.com/food. By going there, it will automatically put in the promo code for the discount that you'll receive at Heaven's Harvest. So check it out. See what sort of foods they have, and see what you like there. Because I can assure you this, compared to other survival foods, this is like super gourmet awesome. The summer of empty shelves is coming, allegedly. Now, look, anytime I do a Michael Snyder story. Michael Snyder from the Economic Collapse blog, as well as End of the American Dream and a few other sites. Every time I do one of his stories, I always have to preempt it with this. Michael Snyder is a brilliant analyst. He is a tenacious researcher. Okay, he puts together stories based upon, he finds sources and puts it all together very nicely. He's really good at this stuff. But the caveat is that Michael Snyder has a tendency to sometimes be a bit over the top with his Chicken Little stuff. Okay, no, look, if I've given the choice between somebody who's just nonchalant, no big deal, nothing to see here, you know, the meme with Leslie Nielsen saying, you know, they got the fireworks going off in the background. He's like, everybody disperse, nothing to see here. If I'm given the choice between that person and the person who may be a little bit over the top with their warnings, I'll take the warnings because I have enough discernment, and I know that you, my wonderful audience, also has enough discernment to take in the information that people like Michael Snyder gives us and to discern whether, you know, figure out what to do with it, right? So when he says the summer of empty shelves is coming, I'm sensing a bit of hyperbole, but I'm going to go into this story with an open mind, and we're going to break it down because there are challenges. President Trump has warned of challenges. Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, they've all warned of challenges. We know that they're coming. We also know there's been some tremendous news with negotiations starting with China, with the United Kingdom, making trade deals. We've got trade deals across the board. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff, and I think that this, my personal feeling, is that the doom and gloom about empty shelves is not going to come to pass, but it could. Okay? It really could, and that's why we're going to cover this particular story from the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. It actually came out yesterday, but I did not have time to get to it, so we're going to get to it today. According to the article, thousands of products that are made in China will soon start disappearing from store shelves in the United States. If a trade deal is not made with China very soon, the summer of 2025 will be the summer of empty shelves. According to the Trump administration, quote, U.S. goods imports from China in 2024 totaled $438.9 billion. We cannot possibly replace $38.9 billion worth of goods that are normally sent to us by the Chinese. In fact, there are thousands of products that Americans regularly buy that are currently only made in China. We have foolishly become extremely dependent on the Chinese, and now most of the things that China makes will no longer be coming here. All right, so let's address that right off the bat. Number one, I think they're going to make a trade deal. President Trump has talked about reducing the tariffs down to 80%. That's still enough to basically destroy their economy. Now, between the two, if we're playing chicken, and yes, China would definitely play chicken with us to some extent, based on pride more than anything else. Not because they think they can necessarily win, but they hope they can win, and they have to figure out a way to save face. Because for those who don't understand how the Chinese Communist Party works, perception is the most important thing, by far, hands down. Okay? They will literally, and have literally, allowed people to die rather than admit that they made a mistake, they being the Chinese Communist Party. Their iron grip over China is only possible. You can only have an iron grip over a population of 1 point whatever billion if you have the perception of both strength as well as competence. The people have to trust them and they have to fear them. They don't have to like them, but they do have to trust that they're going to be able to make it through, and they have to fear that if they step out of line, that they could wind up unalived. So China is very good at that. And I'm not saying that China is like North Korea or Iran or any of those places, but they're not far off. They're closer to being like North Korea or Iran than they are to being like the United States or Western nations. We have our own problems, don't get me wrong. But the point is that we are talking about a game of chicken, and they are the ones that have to blink. Okay? They don't have a reasonable expectation that President Trump is going to blink, so it's got to be them. Sorry, that was awkward. Anyway, it's got to be China that blinks in this scenario. All right. And they are also in by far worse economic situation. They've cut off economic data. They did that a couple of days ago. In other words, things are so bad and getting worse, they're not even letting the world know how bad it's getting. So that does not bode well for them. But back to the article. The good news is that major retailers such as Walmart, Target, and Home Depot still have Chinese products to sell us because they stocked up in advance. I don't know if that's good news or not. I don't think it is, but whatever. But as they run through existing inventory levels during the next several weeks, shortages will begin to appear. In fact, Market Watch is warning that you can see the shelves starting to empty. And this is according, again, to Market Watch. They say it takes 30 to 50 days for container ships from Asia to reach the U.S.'s West Coast ports. Barring new, faster shipping options or a stunning retreat by U.S. President Donald Trump on China tariffs, the consumer retail economy, which constitutes 70% of GDP, will be damaged. Demand for container space from China on the ships transiting the Pacific Ocean currently is running at 60 to 65% below what it normally would be at this time. Attention U.S. shoppers, if you see something you need or even think you will need, head to Walmart or Target or a local retailer and buy it already. You can see the shelves starting to empty. So let's talk about that real quick. Panic buying. Yes, of course, right now, legacy media, which hates President Trump, most of the financial prognosticators, most of the financial people, even in D.C., they all hate President Trump. They want this to fail. They want tariffs to fail. They don't want America to be on a level playing field with other nations, especially China, because in many cases, not in the case of legacy media per se, but in many cases, a lot of these economists and business leaders are paid off directly by the Chinese Communist Party. They are paid literally to do that. And you might say, well, so is legacy media. I would say yes to some extent, but they'll do it either way. Okay, they don't care. They will do whatever it takes to harm President Trump, even if it means harming the United States of America. And if that means prompting panic buying by consumers, then yes, they're going to go down that road. They're going to try to get us, as they're trying to do in this article over at Market Watch, they're going to try to get us to start panic buying. Stock up on toilet paper. It's COVID all over again, folks. Just from a tariff perspective, it's the Trump tariff pandemic. That's the narrative that they're trying to sell. Back to the article. If you are seeing any empty shelves now, you need to understand that this is just the beginning. Conditions will steadily get worse until a trade deal with China is reached. Small businesses and online retailers like Amazon will start running out of Chinese-made products first. But it is only a matter of time before Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and other big box retailers also find that they are running out of Chinese-made goods to sell. CBS News is warning us that disruptions to our supply chain could empty store shelves as early as this summer. Fearmonger, 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 fearmonger. Shipments of Chinese goods to the U.S. are plunging. Auguring? I don't even know what that means. Auguring potential supply chain disruptions that could empty store shelves as early as this summer, some experts have warned. As U.S. tariffs of up to 145% on Chinese imports take hold, supplies of a broad range of products could start to dwindle later this summer as back to school and holiday spending heat up. Experts warn that the sharp decline in trade activity could lead to COVID-19 pandemic-like shortages of products, including goods assembled in the U.S. or elsewhere that use materials or input from China. Again, it's the toilet paper, guys. It's all about the toilet paper. Some experts are pointing to the 4th of July holiday weekend as a major tipping point. In fact, the executive director of the Port of Long Beach says that if you intend to purchase something that will be hit with high tariffs, you should buy it before July 2nd. Fearmongering, fearmongering. Mario Cordero, and this comes to us from, who is this? From Newsweek. Totally reputable, non-biased source. Mario Cordero, executive director of the Port of Long Beach, told Newsweek, and I was being sarcastic, by the way, told Newsweek a wave of canceled orders and growing uncertainty over the on-again, off-again tariffs is already constricting a key trade artery, and if nothing changes before July 2nd, that's the big day, then a 90-day suspension on steep new tariffs targeting Chinese imports expires, or that's when, consumers could soon feel the impacts on store shelves and in their wallets. You know, none of these people are pointing out, by the way, just saying, none of these people are pointing out that prices on many goods and services, many, including food, have actually been going down. I had not anticipated this, okay? As much as I completely support this economic agenda by the Trump administration. I'm one of the few, apparently, that fully supports it because I don't listen to legacy media and I do look at the realities of the situation, which I will explain here in a second. But even I didn't expect prices to start going down. I just didn't think they would spike as much as everybody was saying. But we're actually seeing many of these prices going down. That just blows my mind. But it shouldn't, because I should have trusted. Back to the article. If you're planning to buy something that could face a high tariff like electronics, buy it before July 2nd. July 2nd, fear-mongering. We're in a moment of radical uncertainty. Sorry. I want to emphasize, back to this Michael Snyder's article, I want to emphasize that there will not be shortages of everything. It is specifically products that are manufactured in China that will be in short supply. So this summer, you may see a couple of empty shelves located directly next to a couple of shelves that are completely full. But without a doubt, what we are facing is going to be painful. Just think about the various Chinese-made products that you've already purchased so far in 2025. What will you do when these products are no longer available? Oh my gosh. Don't you see the sky falling? Duh. During a recent interview with CNN, Seattle Port Commissioner Ryan Calkins noted that there was not a single container ship currently docked at his port. Another shipping port official voiced concern about the drastic decline in imports as a result of President Donald Trump's tariffs. Told CNN, because that's where he goes, I can see it right over my shoulder here. I'm looking out at the port of Seattle right now, and we currently have no container ships at berth. Now, I don't know if you all remember this. Hopefully you do. We covered it on this show. But it wasn't just like a couple of years ago where there were like hundreds of ships stuck out at sea waiting for the ports to open up? Wasn't it just not too long ago when it's like, oh my gosh, they can't keep up with this. There's an infrastructure problem. There's too many products coming in. And as a result, prices are going to go up. Everything's going to skyrocket, and your shipping costs are going to go up, and everybody's in trouble, and it's all going to be collapse. Now, did we get hurt by it? You betcha. But it wasn't a collapse. And even though, at the time, it would have behooved me to say, the sky is falling, collapse is coming, because this was during the Biden-Harris regime, I didn't say that, because I didn't think it was going to come. And it didn't come. There was no catastrophe. It was a series of inconveniences. Now, am I suggesting that what we're experiencing now and what we will be experiencing in the days to come, the weeks to come, the months to come, even the years to come, that these are just going to be inconveniences? No, I'm not. But again, bear with me, because I will explain why I am so confident that we are not going to have the catastrophic empty shelves. Are there going to be things we can't get? Of course there will be. Yeah, that's going to happen. It's already happening. Okay? And it's not a bad thing that it's happening, and I'll explain why that's the case as well. I should probably take notes of all the things that I'm promising to tell you guys later. But let's get back to the article first. Let me make it through the article, and then I'll explain everything. I was quite alarmed. This is Michael Snyder again. I was quite alarmed when I read that. Of course, the same thing will soon be happening at other U.S. ports. Ryan Young, a senior economist at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, has told Newsweek, because they're reputable, being sarcastic, that it is just a matter of time before East Coast ports experience a similar shutdown. Oh my gosh, a similar slowdown, I should say. So according to Newsweek again, tariff-related shipping slowdowns will cause a regional cascade effect in the U.S., a little like when COVID-19 first hit. It will first be visible in West Coast ports, which have the fastest shipping times from Asia. After that, it will spread to Gulf ports like Houston, which take a little longer to reach than East Coast ports from the Carolinas up to New England. We are about to see exactly how deeply dependent we have become on China, and it is going to shock a lot of people. Talked about that. We will talk about that further. Do you remember the shortages that we went through during the early stages of the pandemic? Oh my gosh, we're referencing that again. Toilet paper. Fearmongering. Well, if there is no deal with China, what we will eventually experience will be far worse. According to Rolling Stone, another totally reputable, never putting out fake news organization, according to Rolling Stone, even some members of the Trump administration have been stocking up in anticipation of what's to come. Yeah, you got Marco Rubio out there buying cases of toilet paper, apparently. 2 Trump administration officials and a Trump aide tell Rolling Stone, of course they're anonymous, go figure, that they have done some stockpiling of their own in recent weeks or months, and that they know others working in Republican politics, inside and outside of the administration, who are doing the same. So, wait a second. Republicans are stocking up, getting ready for possible shortages due to the tariffs that are necessary? Holy crap. Don't you see the sky is falling? The sky is falling. One of the Trump officials says they have already run to Target to bulk buy toilet paper. There it is. It's happening, folks. There's the toilet paper pitch. Right on. Let's get the panic buying started. Let's do this. Boom. Bulk buy toilet paper, some types of food, and other household supplies. Apparently, one Trump aide believes that it would be stupid not to stock up, considering everything that is happening right now. Another nameless Trump aide, of course, and this is according to Rolling Stone, which they're totally believable with everything they lie about. When asked why they're doing this, the Trump aide, who says they and their partner have done similar household supply hoarding lately, are also stashing cash reserves in their D.C. area home. Simply replies, because it would be stupid not to. So you're stupid if you're not saving up all your fiat currency. The aide adds that they still believe in Trump's tariff regime. Wow, that's a weird way to put it. Though, citing the supposed advantages of short-term pain in exchange for long-term prosperity. Back to Michael Snyder's perspective, if there are products that are made in China that you're going to need in the months ahead, purchase them immediately. I don't think that I can say that enough. Let me end this article with some good news. Good news. On Thursday, the Trump administration announced a trade deal with the United Kingdom. We already know all about that. Good stuff. Unfortunately, there will still be a baseline 10% tariff on most goods that are imported from the United Kingdom. But at least this is a step in the right direction, because, 10%, that's, they've charged us a lot more than that for decades, but it's a negative that we're going to charge them 10% and try to level the playing field. I've always said, well, I shouldn't say always, because I used to be a free trade absolutist. Until very recently, the last few years, I've always said that the path to free trade is by establishing fair trade first. I am still a free trade guy, and I believe that the only way that we can ever achieve free trade is if we stop paying, with zero repercussions, paying the tariffs that everybody else is putting out there, the penalties, the quotas, the limits. Stop letting them treat us unfairly, and then let's just treat each other fairly in a free trade manner. That's what I want. These people that say, oh, you can't do retaliatory tariffs because that's not free trade. There's really no valid argument for saying, hey, we're going to pay all of their tariffs, but they don't have to pay ours. We're going to buy all of their products that they send to us, but we're not going to demand or even ask that they allow our products by American companies to be sold over there. These are the things that administrations all across modern American history have pretended these things are just impossible. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. Finally, we have a president who says, no, we can just make it fair across the board. Everybody's happy. Maybe y'all won't be as happy as you were before, but you're still happy because we're still trading together fairly and eventually freely. That's the pathway. It can't be a one-sided free trade arrangement that we have with the rest of the world. Just doesn't work out. Anyway, of course, back to the article, what we really need is a trade deal with China. And as I discussed yesterday, the Chinese are extremely angry and are in no mood to compromise. I don't care. The angrier they are, the better at this point. Because if they're angry, they're scared. That's their reaction. They get angry because they're expressing their fear and their concerns. When the Chinese Communist Party is not angry, that's when you should be concerned, because that means that they have the advantage. They lash out like they're doing now publicly. That means that they're concerned. And that means that they are going to buckle long before the Trump administration ever does. They're going to be forced to buckle. At this point, they know it too. They know it. They're just trying to figure out how to save face. Because again, for the Chinese Communist Party, perception is far more important than results. They need the results because they can't survive as a nation without them. But they're going to get the perception of strength that they can portray to their people. They want that first. Needless to say, our stories are absolutely teeming with products that are, our stores are absolutely teeming with products that are imported from China. Over the next several weeks, these products will steadily disappear. If something really dramatic does not happen soon, we really are facing a summer of empty shelves, and that will not be good for our economy at all. So let's start off. I know I had several things that I had to cover. Let's start off with whether empty shelves are necessarily bad. Obviously, for anything that is crucial, materials that are life-saving, materials that advance life, okay? It doesn't have to be just life-saving. It could be something that is important. For example, building materials, okay? Building materials don't necessarily save lives, but they are extraordinarily important for the advancement of the American economy, the advancement of America as a nation. We need those things. So yes, there are certain things that we need, but the things that we don't necessarily need, especially the products that we don't necessarily need, if there's a shortage of those, so be it. We are a spoiled nation. Many of our people, even our poorest people, you've heard this said many times in different ways, but even our people that are living in poverty oftentimes eat better and live better than people who are supposedly, quote unquote, middle class in other nations. Sometimes you would say that our middle class would be filthy rich in other nations. We've lived lives of abundance for so long, overabundance. We've had too much stuff. We throw away more products than most other countries keep. They just end up in the trash, end up in the landfill. Oh, surplus. Ship them off somewhere else. Give them away. Put them in one of those claws, you know. People won't wonder where all those toys in those claws come from. Most of them are just surplus toys that never got sold to any convenience stores or anything else. They're already paid for. Throw them in a vending machine and take a risk. If somebody spends $1 and gets one, that's a free buck. If somebody spends $1 and doesn't get one, that's one free buck, if not more, if they try again. Okay, we are a nation of abundance, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not going to sit here and apologize for our wealth as a nation. But I would argue that our people need to get prepared. We need to experience empty shelves. We need to experience the lack of convenience. Again, I'm not talking about crucial items, life-saving items, food, stuff like that. I'm not excited about those types of shortages, which is why I'm against, for example, culling herds for bird flu or whatever, but whatever. That's not about tariffs. The shortages that Michael Snyder and others are talking about really are secondary. They're lifestyle shortages in many ways. Even you might say that toilet paper is crucial. Toilet paper is not crucial. Okay? Water is crucial. And if you have water, then you have basically toilet paper. I'm not going to get vulgar or anything like that. But the point is that those things are great to have. And I'm not suggesting that it wouldn't suck big time to have those missing or to make them challenging to get. But that's not absolutely crucial. That's the only point I'm trying to make. And perhaps we need to experience some shortages. Now, that's the bad part. Now let's get to the good part. We are dependent upon China. China knows it. That's what they're trying to latch onto. That's why they're getting a lot of publications, even conservative and alternative media publications. They are trying to get them to go against the tariffs, to spread fear and concern about what's going to happen to America if Trump doesn't back down. They're trying. They've already got legacy media. That hasn't helped them much. So now they're trying to get people in conservative media, in alternative media, to echo their talking points. That's happening. But the reality is this. They are desperate. And President Trump has all the cards when it comes to other nations. What this article, and pretty much no other article that I've ever read on this topic has ever talked about, is the fact that as President Trump rushes people, as Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick and Marco Rubio and all these other people try to get these nations to come to us to negotiate, one care that they're holding out there is that you're right, China, They're not coming to the table. Well, they are coming to the table now, but it's going to be a while before they get there. We want to reduce our dependence on them. So if you guys can make up for some of this stuff, whoever, India, United Kingdom, whatever, Bangladesh, Thailand, I don't care. Colombia, I don't care. If anybody else can start making some of these things that we're dependent upon China, and you guys can make it comparably, maybe even better, maybe even cheaper, or maybe not much more expensive, but if you guys can supply it to us, we can cut a deal with you, a trade deal, and we're going to make sure that we buy your widgets. Day one, we're going to place an order for 10 million units of widgets, whatever they are. Widgets that we're currently buying from China. They're playing hardball. You guys are ready to come to the table. Here's what we can offer. Let's go to the straight reciprocal 10% tariffs, and so there's some protection for your people, some protection for our people, but then we're going to buy 10 billion units of widgets. If you say you can supply them, get your thing going, we'll cut the deal with you. We've been paying China and getting screwed over by China for decades on these widgets. We want your widgets. And you guys can produce it. We can't, or we won't. Are you seeing how this could work? Or not could work. How it is working? The longer China waits, the less that's going to be there for them when they truly come to the table. And they know this. That's why they're doing everything they can. They want it so badly. They want to go back to the way things were. They want to keep screwing over Americans and the United States of America as a whole because we're just this piggy bank. We're just rich. We're their enemy. They can hurt us while helping themselves. All these things. They want to go back to that. They don't want talk of reciprocal tariffs or fair trade or selling American products abroad or bringing more businesses back to the United States of America or hiring American workers. They don't want any of that. They just want to keep screwing us. And the only way that we can stop them from screwing us is to support President Trump's plan wholeheartedly. Many of you out there, Republican, conservative, libertarian, America First, whatever, however you identify yourself, MAGA, MAHA, whatever, you're going to be told by everybody on the left and at least half the people on the right, these tariffs are a bad thing. They're not. They're not. As long as they're temporary. And the only way that we can, the best way, not the only way, but the best way we can help to make them temporary is to stand strong, to call out publications, even on the right, if they're out there telling lies about, because, and I don't think, to be clear, when I said that there are publications out there that are being coerced and even paid by China to put up propaganda, Michael Snyder's not one of them. I can tell you that right now. Michael Snyder truly believes, because he doesn't just listen to, I pretty much only listen to the right. I listen to what the left is saying, but I don't buy what they're saying. I don't buy anything the legacy media says, even Fox News. But, I think that he does. Well, I know that he does. So his perspectives aren't being manufactured. His perspective, or not manufactured at least by China. His perspectives are being coaxed by people who want the Trump administration to fail. They want the tariffs to fail. Okay? They want all this stuff. So they have people like Michael Snyder and many of your friends, many of your relatives, many of the people that you touch to be scared of the empty shelves. There's no reason to be scared of empty shelves. I know I've been harping on this for half the show, but it's important. It really is. Because we're getting to crunch time. They keep saying July 2nd. Oh, we're going to really see July 4th weekend. What does that mean? It means we have less than 2 months to start getting trade deals done, to start reversing the false narratives, to continue to upend the fearmongering that's happening. It's not going to be as bad as they say. It's not going to be as good as we hope, but it won't be as bad as they say. And whatever pain we do have to suffer through with the empty shelves, it's not going to be existential. It's not going to be crucial. We're not going to be losing life-saving drugs. We're not going to be, sitting there with plenty of money but no place to buy food. So we're going to have to get into the bread line because there just was, we ran out of macaroni. It's not going to happen. What is going to happen is that there's going to be certain shortages of certain items, and those items, Lord willing, will be replaced by suppliers from other nations. Or China comes to the table. If I have my druthers, I hope China doesn't come to the table until a lot later. I hope that our dependence upon China is reduced dramatically because we're making deals here to start producing the things that we don't produce today, and the other things we're not going to produce here, we're getting them from other countries. We're spreading it out. We're diversifying. We're not allowing anybody, not China, not anybody else, to control us in any way. We want to make it to where if China walks away, if anybody walks away, if anybody, we're not making bad decisions on foreign policy or even domestic policy based upon not wanting to make somebody else mad. I don't want to care if any other nation or national leader hates us. Right now, we call it what you will. China controls a lot. Pharmaceuticals, rare earths. We are beholden to them in many ways. I want that to end as quickly as possible. Well, that's it. That was my pitch. Not pitch. That was my call to not be so concerned about the risk of empty shelves. And again, I love Michael Snyder. Don't get me wrong. This wasn't an attack against him. I told you in the beginning, he tends to take the information and maybe see it more in a more Chicken Little light than he should. I just take the amazing information that he finds, and sometimes I'll totally agree with it, and sometimes I'll correct it a bit, such as we did today. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.